Hello, this is Louise. I'm talking to Norma today, who uses peritoneal dialysis. Thanks for spending time with us today, Norma.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.
Okay. When did you first start kidney dialysis?
Um, I had my surgery on the 8th of September, and I did the CAPD, which is the manual version, about a week or two after that. And after 6 weeks, then I was put on the machine.
And what's the surgery you had?
The surgery was to insert the tube so I could connect to my machine.
Okay. Were you given a choice of peritoneal dialysis versus other methods of dialysis?
Yes, so they told me I could either do the typical dialysis, which is in a clinic, or the peritoneal dialysis. And I'm a teacher, so I go in every single day. And I'm also a special ed teacher, so I have meetings in the evening or in the afternoon. So it's very difficult for me to schedule going to a center
Mhm.
to do my dialysis. So I figured if I can do this every night, I would rather take control of my health. So I chose this instead.
You started your peritoneal dialysis without using the cycling machine, right?
Correct. I was taught how to do everything, in a sanitized fashion, manually. So at least for a couple of weeks until my machine came in,
Mm.
I would learn how to connect and disconnect. And also, it was a good thing because in case, especially nowadays, if there's a power outage, I'll still know how to take control of my dialysis.
What's your sense of using the machine versus not using the machine? Is one more convenient or less of a hassle than the other?
Well, either one is a hassle, but a necessary hassle. So um, I I I kind of welcome the fact that the machine is there. It talks to me. In fact, I kind of named it Wally because it looked like the Wally machine in the movie. Um, so even my students, because how was Wally that last night? Did he treat you well? I go, yes, he did. Uh, so I find it way easier. It tells me if I miss this step. It tells me the steps to go through, even if I know them already. It's sometimes you're just either tired or something is on your mind. And it's always good to have the machine there to make sure I'm doing it correctly, so that I don't damage my body any further. So I really like the machine.
What was the training like? It sounds like you may have had it in two sessions since you were waiting to get
Mhm.
the machine.
It was an extensive 2 weeks actually after my surgery. Um, every single day I went in, I learned how to do it, I did it myself. The nurses there, the staff there was like amazing. um, they told me how to do it. Don't panic. And in the beginning I was very afraid to do anything, to even snap or unsnap the closures. I was still hesitant because I thought, am I doing this right? And I was always second guessing myself. But as time went on, and now I know why they did the 2 weeks, because by the end of the 2 weeks, I felt I could do it on my own at home without any help. So they, basically guided me, and they continue to guide me to this day, at least once a week, um, checking in with me, making sure they understand. They get all the reports from the machine. So if I do something, or if the machine hiccups, or even um, my numbers that I have to put in, if there's anything that they notice might be dangerous, like my blood pressure levels, my sugar levels, they will talk to me about it, and we can make adjustments from there on. So they've been very helpful.
What about the requirements, just physical requirements for doing the dialysis at home? There's a fair amount of equipment and gear. How did that work out for you?
Well, it was a good thing that I had a big enough living room. Unfortunately, I took over the living room.
Mhm.
Um, and my parents understand, both my parents are over 86. So they understood, it's like, oh, they can't believe that I'm going through this. They would never do it, for example. But with all the supplies that I have to have within reach, I really took over the living room. There's boxes all over. Um, there's rubbish bags that I'm constantly throwing things away in. I have to disinfect my hands and everything around me that I use. So there's a lot of, I wouldn't say waste. Prior to this, I would say waste, but now I feel it's a necessity because I have to disinfect everything, my hands, the table, the machine, the tubing, everything that I am going to touch in this process, I have to disinfect. And it may take more than just a wet wipe, So I have a lot of Clorox. In fact, that is my favorite smell right now. So yeah, I like the smell of Clorox. Go figure. Um, so yeah, I had to make room. I had to make an agreement with my family and especially my husband because um, I didn't want to have him be worried about me, like either colliding with me or hitting me accidentally while he was sleeping. So, it's we are sleeping in separate rooms, but that's only just for the sleeping portion. So, um, it's about an 8-hour process when I hook up to the machine. So, so it's basically when I'm going to sleep and everybody's in bed already. So the noise of the machine doesn't affect them. I'm in a separate room where I close off the kitchen door and the door to the other living quarters so they don't get bothered. There is a light that, I mean, from the machine itself is like a computer that's constantly on and it's very bright and it's very noisy if the alarms go off. So I would prefer to be in the living room by myself and not bother anyone else in the household. So those were the few adjustments I had to make, but I think it's worth it and they understand. So they're very supportive.
Did anyone else in your household get training along with you?
No, not yet. Although they see me, they're kind of, and I don't blame them. It's like, I have to clean my wound every day. So when I'm doing that, they're like, okay, I'm going in the other room. It's like, they're squeamish. It's like getting a
Mm.
shot. I'm not getting a shot. That kind of a feeling like everything is on my own right now. If I do need help, though, I'm sure either my husband or my daughter, if she's not asleep for work, might pitch in. I wouldn't depend too much on my parents because I don't want to put that added stress on them.
Mhm.
But so for now, I'm kind of like on my own, which I don't mind because I know what I'm doing. I know the process. It's a routine right now. Um, so I know exactly all the equipment that I have to have in order to start the cycle. Um, and it's easier. It would be nice if I had someone else, but I think they would just get in the way right now.
Yeah.
So they may ask questions, but that's about it. So
Mm.
right now it's just myself.
Have you had to change your diet since you went on dialysis?
Oh my God, yes. I have never been this in tune with my body ever. I'm diabetic also, and
Mm.
I was a typical diabetic where, oh, okay, I would take my medicine. Okay, I take my shot. Okay, maybe I do this, maybe I do that. Oh, if I eat this, oh, okay, I'll just increase my pills or whatever,
Mhm.
right? Not really realizing what even like more than a scoop of rice would do to my body. Um, how um, how everything I'm doing for the cycle not only affects my well-being as far as my kidneys are concerned, but it's for my blood pressure and my diabetes. I've been more in control of both of those, more so because of my kidney dialysis. I have glaucoma, I just found out. So, because of my lack of keeping my sugar levels low. So now that I have to do that, I'm always trying. In fact, I still haven't gotten it down packed yet, but I'm trying different formulas, different things, like even different times to take my shots in the day that will affect what my readings will be on the machine. Um, but it has definitely affected it. While right after my surgery, and while I was going through the training, there were things even before then I couldn't eat. So I couldn't eat, the healthy thing. I couldn't even eat tofu. I couldn't eat beans. I couldn't eat certain vegetables. I couldn't eat tomatoes or tomato sauce. Um, and so I had to really be careful. I basically became a vegetarian before the dialysis, which was good because I lost weight. um, and that's always a good thing. But also, like after I got put on the machine, it's every little thing that is red, especially at the end of the cycle. If I had too much starch, too much sugar in my system, too much caffeine would affect my blood pressure. Um, every little thing I analyzed with the nurses at the clinic, and they would basically tell me, okay, the dietitian told me I needed more protein because I was so into vegetables that I was neglecting the other side where I needed the protein. So I'm taking protein supplements. I'm anemic, so they give me B12 boosters, once a month. I'm getting shots every single month that I go there, but it's to help stabilize my system. Um, so the diet, the exercise, the even the formulas, the different formulas that I use every night will either increase or decrease my blood, for example, my blood sugar. So I have to constantly watch that along with my diet and exercise. So I actually feel better though, because of that.
Well, it's good to see the results of those hard efforts.
And my blood work is always better. I always would fear going to get my blood tests because I was afraid of what the results would be, but they're looking better. And even if it was negative, there's somebody there to tell me what I can do to correct that. So I'm like being spoon fed, along the way.
I think you mentioned different solutions that you use for the peritoneal dialysis. Is that right?
Yes. So there's sugar in the solutions. So the stronger the solution, the more sugar there is in the solution. So I have to really be careful about what I use. So for example, I use the typical the yellow bags, which is the lowest solution, lowest sugar solution, and the next level up is green. So if my blood pressure is really high, for example, I need to use at least a green. So it so like I said, if things are kind of off kilter, or even I need to like figure out what combination besides my diet and exercise, what combination of the solutions I need to use so that I'm still getting the cleansing for my kidneys, but also not affecting my other weaknesses, so to say.
So do the nurses give you a chart of what solution to use in what circumstances?
Yes, yes. They gave me a whole book
Okay.
um, along with charts. And they gave me homework. That first 2 weeks, they gave me homework every single day. So there was another chart I had to listen or read, or a set of information that I had to be wary of.
Mhm.
Um, so, and then even if I am unsure of what I should use, all I have to do is just call them the next day, as long as it's on a weekday, and they will advise me as to what I should be using. So it's always helpful. Somebody's there to help me, in other words.
Do you use the machine every night?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Yes. Yeah. What was the surgery for the catheter insertion like?
It was painless. I didn't feel anything. However, that was the beginning of my high blood pressure journey. Either that or it was my finally my awareness that I had high blood pressure, because right after the surgery, they kept me in there longer because they were
Mm.
trying to get my blood pressure down. So I learned a lot from the doctors and the nurses there initially, and then when I went to the clinic, I that was the first question: how do I maintain my blood pressure? Besides the pills, what else can I do? Because there's only so much medication you can take, but if I can do something else, I would rather do that instead. So right now, unfortunately, since it has been high, I just need to still figure out the medication dosage. So we're still working on that, for example.
Have you made changes in your lifestyle to try to reduce your blood pressure?
Yes, so I am at least walking more, now that, like I said, I was a teacher. I am a teacher, and we were doing everything online. So I
Mhm.
was in a sedentary mode since January, and I gained a lot of weight. I mean, like
Mm.
we all did the COVID 15. Mine was like 20, 30. I can't
Mm.
remember. So when we finally were able to go back to school, walking from the car to my classroom was a chore. It's like, oh my God, I have not, I walk around our property, but that was nothing compared to the distance, even around the campus. So now, my daughter walks with me, and I'm used to walking now. I'm walking around school. Any chance I can get, I park far away from wherever I'm at and then walk to my destination. So like if I go to appointments, I park kind of far. Um, I try to add that exercise into my lifestyle because I wasn't doing that for, since January. And I know we're all like that, but in reality, if I don't do what I'm doing now and if I don't exercise, that's it. I would rather be positive than negative in my life, and I will do anything at this point. And I never thought I would do that. I never thought I would be conscious about my diet and exercise than I am right now. But I kind of want to live a little bit longer. Uh, so I will do whatever I can to make that happen.
Getting back to the surgery, what was the follow-up healing process like?
It took a while for my wound to heal. In fact, right now it feels better. So it was a
Mm.
little red for the longest time. Um, and it could be just, when I'm sleeping, it might agitate the tubing or whatever, but finally it's starting to heal and it doesn't hurt on my exit wound as much. I'm trying to keep it, clean and sanitary all the time, um, as much as I possibly can during the day. Make sure that my um, my exit site is not disturbed. It took getting used to, like even certain clothes would catch on the tubing and would pull it apart or pull it down from my tape that I was holding it with, and that would kind of hurt the exit wound itself. Um, so just things like that, initially, I was so afraid of anybody bumping into me. I told everybody where it was. It's sort of like when you have a surgery scar, you want to show it to everybody. I don't know why, but so I basically, they looked at that and it goes like, what is that thing coming out of your shirt? It's not, it's this big bulge. So I usually like to just tape it up because the belt that they gave me, that's kind of uncomfortable for me because I guess I say I'm a fluffy girl and I don't, the belt doesn't sit with me very very well, so I'd rather use tapes and things. But yeah, so and everybody kind of knows, they kind of keep their distance, but I go, that's okay, I'm good now, because they don't know what to do with me. My admin, they have all been so wonderful. On certain days, for example, when the machine just alerts and keeps me awake at night and I have a hard time waking up in the morning, or it pushes my cycle so that um, I won't be able to get to school on time if there were too many bells and whistles going off during the night. Um, but they are working with me flexible. Thank goodness we are in the period right now. I hate to say that, but because I'm also able to teach online, I can be a little bit more flexible because of what happens during the night with my cycle. So um, if it was during normal times, I'm not sure. I probably have to think about retiring. And right now, I don't have to. I can still do my job, stay in contact with the students and anybody. Attend meetings, um, and do my job pretty well. The only thing is just those nights when I
Yeah.
have a little hard time.
Can you still shower with the catheter?
Yeah, I basically, um, at first, the first month, I was sponge bath, doing a sponge bath. Now we purchased a special nozzle where it comes off, and then I can control where the water flows.
Mm,
And I can make sure. And then I always like tape up. So I kind of put saran wrap over my exit site and tubing so it doesn't get contaminated by any of the water from the faucet. And then, because in the beginning I was like, this is not going to work. It was really difficult. Even washing my hair, and I'm the type who likes to wash my hair every day. So not being able to wash my hair every day was like a chore. So I finally figured out what I needed to buy to make it easier for me. So I have a chair in the shower, but it's kind of convenient. I just sit and
mm.
I'm able to thoroughly wash myself with no problems, no water splashing, and as long as I keep the wound protected, um, I can always just change it out after the shower in case it does get wet. So, and disinfect it again. So I'm very conscious of what goes near the wound. So
How much have you told your students about your dialysis?
um, initially, since we were online, I missed maybe a couple of days, not many days, but when I came back, they were worried because they're still trying to get to know me at that point. And they were worried about, like, they don't want a new teacher, so what's going on with you? I did explain. Some of them understood what was going on. Some of them, that's when I found out, and they shared with me their home life and who
Uh,
else might have. And that was a wealth of knowledge that I don't think a lot of teachers would get from just teaching the academics. So the bonding with my students occurred like right after my surgery. So um, I really cannot thank them enough for being understanding. Middle school students are not very compassionate. Um, but the group that I have this year, I guess because we're all in this together, we're all suffering together, they feel things that they would not normally feel. They have empathy and they have compassion that they usually don't have. I mean, I usually don't see that in middle school students. So that was a very surprising thing. As soon as my kids come into the classroom, they're disinfecting their hands. I have the disinfectant right by the door. If they don't have a mask, they can't come to school without a mask anyway. So they all have masks. They're all getting used to that. And if they're sick, I tell them to stay home, and they understand why. They have elder folks at home, their grandmas and grandpas, or even their parents who are have illnesses that COVID could, devastate. So they are aware, and they're very empathetic about listening to what I suggest whenever they're around me. So the kids are really cool.
What is your daily routine around dialysis now?
Okay, so I'm currently not holding any fluid during the day because everything is done at night, which right now is cool. I tried it a couple of days when I was going through the initial training, and oh my God, I had backaches. I'm not used to
Oh,
carrying, that much. And that also proved that I needed to build up my core muscles because if anything like that would happen in the future, I need to be able to, hold it in. Um, so there were a couple of days where they tested it out, and I'm kind of glad I don't have to do that. But when I come home, it's certain times that I start taking my shots, my insulin shots, for example. So I find I'm still working on the combination, but it starts at 4:30. So at 4:30, I have to take my shot. Any later, then it would have a higher reading on um, my blood sugars. So I finally found out that maybe by 4:30, I can start um, my routine. So I take my shots, then I clean out my wound um, while I'm doing that. Then around 6 o'clock or so, I start prepping the bags and the equipment that I'm going to need for that night. I clean everything off. And it takes about 30 minutes, to clean everything off, wipe down the machine. And then no later than 7:30, I must turn the machine on. Otherwise, I won't get to school on time. So, um, and then I begin hooking up and taking all my measurements on everything by 7:30, so that the machine actually, when I'm hooked up to the machine, I should be able to hook up by 8 o'clock, so that I can get out to school on time.
how do you start the dialysis?
Okay, so like I said, I start at 8, and so I need to take my measurements because the machine asks for my weight, my blood pressure, my temperature. So I need to take my temperature and also my blood sugar readings. So I need to do all of that before I can hook up any of the bags or even start the process. So I get my 2 bags of solution, which is usually the one yellow and one green of the 5,000 liters. Um, and then I begin to hook up the machine, whatever it tells me, in a certain order. So usually I'd have to start prepping all the bags as well as um, the drainage bag, and set all of that up before I even hook up. Then once I do everything correctly and the machine gives me the go ahead, then I can actually hook up, disinfect and hook up to the machine. And that's usually um, by about 8:30, depending, 8:30, 8:40. And then that gives me 8 hours to go through the cycle of, where at first it drains any fluids that I might have in me, um, which is not that much right now. But if I were to have or carry any fluid during the day, that's the time that it would drain it. And then I would have 4 cycles of filling and draining um, and then it would wake me up and saying your dialysis is complete now, and that kind of thing. And then I would still, after that, I would still, in order to shut the machine down, I'd still have to take my weight, do my blood pressure, um, again, my temperature and my blood sugars before I even turn off the machine, or before I even unhook my tube. So I have to have all of that done. So I've come across where, I've finally done that. I've learned how to figure everything out and get it done in a routine so that I can still get to school on time.
After the machine is turned off, you've got
Mhm.
a drain bag full of fluid, right?
Yes.
How heavy is that?
Heavy where I can't carry it. So my husband will carry it. So, he, before he goes off to work, he'll usually put it in the sink, and then it drains out during the day, so that by the time I get home, I just discard all of that. So we've come to a routine. And if we try to do it in the bathtub, sink, or in the bathroom, so it doesn't disturb anything in the kitchen that my parents might come into contact with. I don't want to like gross them out or whatever. But I also have to check to make sure that the bag is clear before he takes it away, because if
Mm,
there's anything within the solution in the bag, I need to report that. If it's not clear, or if there's blood or anything,
mhm.
fibers in it, I need to report that. So far so good. But they, even then, they ask me. So if I don't report, they'll ask me anyway, so I still have to report. um,
That's the
so
beauty of being thorough.
yes, yes, yeah, I love them for that.
You mentioned alarms going off sometime and the machine having the light on. Is how hard is it to sleep with all that going on?
Well, I finally got the blinders, but it's really not good, because if there is an alarm that goes off, maybe because of a slow drainage, an alarm will go off. So I either have to shift my
Mm,
sleeping position and then turn it off. So that, like last night, it went off, like about 3 times, and I was like, oh,
mm,
so I'm really tired. But the reason why that would also, I found out, probably go off, is if I do not have a constant bowel movement, and if I'm not regular, there's not enough room in my body to hold the liquid and then drain off. And then it kind of hurts, because if I can tell when I don't have a proper bowel movement, because in the drainage system, when I first started, I was not regular. And you can kind of feel it sucking um, on you down there, because you know the sac is full with waste, and so because it's full of waste, there's less room for the liquid to be in, and therefore there's not enough drainage, because it measures how much is fluid is coming out of my body. So if not enough fluid comes out, then that's a problem. So like I told you earlier, I have never been so in tune with my body before, because everything that happens with my body affects how well the cycle will go over the night. So, the doctors are working with me. I'm trying to find different medications that will help me um, cure that, or at least help me to get myself regular again, for example. So again, the combinations there. Um, Although I'm taking more medication than I had before, I understand why I'm taking them now. Before, it's like, oh God, why am I taking this? Yeah, it's blood pressure. Yeah, it's this. But now I can actually see, when I am taking that,
mm,
how it affects my cycle, how it affects my body. I actually do feel better. Um, I understand why doctors are frustrated when patients do not take their medications on time, um, because it does affect everything that machine does. So it's a lifesaver on all other aspects.
What should people contemplating peritoneal dialysis know?
If more people understood that it's not a scary thing, but it's a good thing. If you have the room in your house, if you have the storage
Yeah.
space in your garage, what surprised me was everything that I'm doing and everything that is supplied to me for my cycle and my staying alive is free from Kaiser, um, as well as the labs every month. You know, that's a lot of work and that's a lot of medications. I told my financial advisor I need to save more money because I have this kidney disease. Um, I don't know how much it's going to cost me, but you better make sure I have enough money. You know, and then come to find out, I don't have to worry about that. You know,
That's
I have to
phenomenal.
worry. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm hoping it's that way with all the other types of um, hospitals or whatever cares, you know, like Medicare or stuff. Um, but this has been a load off of my mind so that I can just concentrate on staying well. You know, so I'm not sure, you know, where you are in your journey. Um, but I hope this has helped you and maybe some of your friends.
Definitely.
If you can handle it, and you want control in your life, do it. Number one, it's saving your life. A lot of, especially local people, are very hesitant to even go to the doctor to find out what's wrong with them. They don't want to know what's bad with them. But if you don't know, it's going to hurt you in the end. And then it's going to be too late. So with my mother, she had diabetes, for example, and you know everything started to fail, and she waited till it was too late, and unfortunately, we saw her pass. So I vowed that I would never, ever have that happen to me. If I could control my life, control my life. You need to control your life. You need to, you know, I don't want to sound preachy, but you got to do whatever you got to do if you want to stay alive. So that's my simple way of putting it. This is keeping me alive. I love it. It's not a hassle. It's not a bother. It's something I just need to do. So I hope other people do it. It's not scary. It's not scary.
Thank you so much for telling us about your experience and taking the time to do it.
Oh, thank you very much, Louise. I appreciate you guys for having me and letting me talk. I talk all day, but I'm talking more. But you know, I'm passionate about people taking control of their lives and doing what's right for themselves and not waiting. Don't wait till the end. You
Very good advice.
know. Thank you.
Thanks.